So, good morning again. This is Jay, and I am back in the shop this morning for another day of painting. And first thing, obviously, I wanted to show you the progress, or actually the completion of my second Arachnarok spider. Very similar to my first one, but I definitely like how this one came out. I think more than my last one, simply because having already done it before, I kind of knew going in what the potential pitfalls were, and I could avoid those. It went a little bit faster, and I was able to give the paint a little bit more detail than I did the first time around. And of course, what I'm really excited about is the detachable goblins. That's a lot of fun. Something I wish I had done on my own. Obviously, this one's not for me. This one's for a client. And I do really wish I had done this for myself, even though I don't need it, because I use mine's in my orc army. There's no point for the goblins to ever come off. But it's just so neat. I like the fact that they can. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that's pretty much done. I'm going to take a final kind of pass over the whole thing to make sure I didn't forget anything. Just, essentially dot all the I's, cross all the T's, but, it's done. It's pretty much done. And then this is really the big project for today, which is Epic Thagrosh. So hopefully on my next video, you'll see some real progress here. This is, looking exactly the same way it did in yesterday morning's video. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, since this is kind of a short video otherwise, is another one of my kind of recipes. So my goblins, if you ever looked at my pictures on Flickr, you can actually see better kind of close-ups of my goblins. And I have a kind of a unique color recipe for them. And it's really simple, but it's a paint that I only know a couple of people who use, me and one other guy, really. And that is Eric Leidberg, who is also a Golden Demon winner more recently than I am. And he really loves these Joe Sonia paints. And I like them as well. And we both got into using them about the same time. And that was, I want to say, about 10 years ago. And in fact, these two tubes are probably just about that old, honestly. The packaging now on these paints is different. And in fact, back when I started using them, I liked them so much that I called the company to find out if it would be possible to repackage them for sale in my hobby store. Because if you look at these tubes, they definitely look like craft paints, and they're a little girly, and it's definitely going to make them a little bit more of a hard sell to your serious science fiction and fantasy painter. Even though they're great paints, they're really fantastic paints. They weren't into it, so I kind of dropped the idea. And honestly, I kind of have this tendency to move from paint to paint, always going back to Citadel color and and these days P3 paints. But I will always grab whatever's handy. So Liquitex or craft paints or whatever, whatever is handy, I will use. But I started picking these up again because my friend Eric was sort of singing their praises to me again. And if you've seen my Flickr photo pool, I've actually photographed a lot of Eric's minis, and he really has a way with color. But part of that is part of what makes his colors unique is he's not drawing from that same palette that everybody else is by using the same palette of colors from Games Workshop or Privateer Press. He's drawing from the Joe Sonia collection, which kind of gives you a different place to start. Now, anyway, let me go back to back to what I was going to originally talk about, which is my goblins. And this is their primary color right here, is the sap green. And here's the interesting thing: white primer, and then sap green over that in a 2 washes, I would say, and that's it. So 2 washes of Joe Sonia sap green over white, and it's done. And I really think the results speak for themselves. And again, go to the Flickr pool, and I'll put a link up. No, actually, there is a link up, I think, in my comments on the channel. But at some point, I will actually just list out the URL right here so that you can go find it. And if you look at my Arachnarok spider pics, actually, you can find my original spider just by doing a Google image search for Arachnarok spider. It'll show up on the first page. But that's it, and that's because these colors work just really well as sort of these kind of transparent washes. And so when you're using the Joe Sonia, or when I'm using the Joe Sonia paints, I'm working light to dark. That is, I'm starting with a white base and then working down towards the darkest color, where it is normally, if you're doing a kind of a standard wargaming paint job, you might start with a black base and then work up to your lightest tones. And these you definitely have to go the other way. So that's it. I mean, that's it's simple. By the way, the bottles don't look like that, or the tubes don't look like this anymore. They lost the girly craft paint packaging, and now they're just called Joe Sonia Artist Colors, and they have a like a color wheel or a color palette as the packaging. So had they been like that back in the day, I might have actually brought them into my store. Now, I've realized over the years that most people just want to purchase the paints that the manufacturer tells them to. So if you're a Games Workshop player, there's a good chance you're just going to buy Citadel paints. And if you're a War Machine or Hordes player, you're going to want to buy the P3 line, and that's fine. That's not a problem. And they both make good paints. So again, only weird people like me who want to try any paint that happens to come to hand would really give this a look. And so, as far as the store goes, it doesn't make sense. But if you find yourself in a situation where you see some of these Joe Sonia paints and you want to give them a try, do so. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. Like I said, these tubes are probably 10 years old. The paints are just fine, and they really do kind of last forever. It's really cool. I used to buy them at AC Moore. They don't carry them anymore. I think now, at this point, you pretty much have to buy them online. Your local art store might have them, possibly. But online, pretty much the way to go for these. So that's it for today, and I will probably do another video, not tomorrow, probably Sunday. Kind of depends. I think Sunday is going to be primarily a photograph day, because I need to get pictures of this guy before I deliver him on Tuesday. So that's it. We'll talk to you later.